That's fine. I'll take that. I will take that.
Well, would you like to introduce the film?
Yeah, I will. So, welcome to X-rated. Is that what we're going with?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's EX rated. And I feel like maybe we should talk a little bit about ourselves and why we're calling it that.
Yeah. Well, we dated for like 3 weeks about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But we kept in touch. We run with some of the same circles. You work at one of my haunts.
That's true.
So, it was just bound that we were going to run into one another. And it's not like things went south because, we hated each other. It just...
I don't know.
Yeah.
It fizzled. It happens.
It happens.
You have a crush on everyone for 2 minutes at some point, right?
Yeah,
And
sure.
sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works. City
Yeah.
living.
City living.
But yeah, we always really liked movies.
Yeah.
And we used to, at one point, we gave each other a list of movies. I don't remember the origin of that.
I think it was because we were just talking about movies one time, and
I think I had just gotten Netflix or something.
Oh, okay. I just remember it was you always kind of get a kick out of recommending something to someone, and especially if they enjoy it, that kind of just, you love that a little bit. And you were difficult because I wanted to recommend you something, but it was hard. Because, you've seen Pulp Fiction. I can't just recommend that you see Pulp Fiction.
Right.
So, I had to, think about what to recommend to you.
Yeah.
I was I want to, flank him from the left. And, just sort of, that thought process of, trying to think, what's, a more advanced, level of film. You have your AFI top 100 or something like that most people have seen, or at least seen a lot of them.
Right.
And I was well, what's that second tier of once you've seen all those, what do you go to?
Right, yeah.
And I don't know, I just had a lot of fun in that thought process. But I also wanted to know what would your thought process be like? I wanted it back at me.
Yeah, I guess, let me see, when we first started doing this, what did I do? I guess I was just trying to pick films that I liked that I didn't think you'd seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to think oh, I really love this. Matt needs to see this. And I think it was also just sort of, I want to talk about this with somebody. Because there's so many times, I tend to watch movies alone a lot.
Yeah.
And then I just keep them in my head.
Sure.
And maybe come up with a 2-sentence snippet about it. When
Sure.
people say, oh, how was that?
Yeah.
But, most of the time I'm oh God, I just want to keep talking about this. But, no one, most people are just okay, great, well, maybe I'll see it someday, and, you're done,
Yeah.
Which is, I guess fine for just normal everyday interactions, but, we can, in this format, we can dig into it.
Long form, dissecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a lot of fun, and just, thinking about it, and then, because it was sort of, an assignment, because you, recommended me, a Gus Van Sant film, and I was going to be veto, but, I don't know if we couldn't do vetoes, or I don't remember what it was, but I ended up watching the Gus Van Sant movie anyway, and now it's my favorite of his films.
Oh, which one was it?
Paranoid Park.
Oh, yeah.
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 I'm still not crazy about him, as a whole, his oeuvre of, but that one film, I did really enjoy, and I still will have a special place in my heart for that one.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun byproduct of the challenge, is I was kind of forced to reassess my opinion on something, or on someone, in that case Gus Van Sant.
Mm-hmm.
And I've reassessed it back to how I initially thought of him, but for that one brief moment.
For a minute there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Jim Jarmusch, I watched Mystery Train, and I was oh my God, I'm going to have to rethink Jim Jarmusch now. And then I watched all my blind spots with him, and I'm I'm staying.
Well, sometimes it's just one movie,
Yeah.
that you like from that director, and the rest are just,
Yeah.
it doesn't connect.
So, I would say that one difference between you and I and how we watch movies is that you seem to watch them for pleasure, and I watch them for pain. Nobody watches every Brian De Palma movie because they're enjoying themselves. There's a lot of shit in that catalog, and to have to slog through it all, I'm getting something out of it other than pleasure that for some reason is satisfying to me.
Okay.
Well,
maybe this is a good point to say, like, you watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Right?
But I can be very, like, non-discriminate. Like, a movie being bad, like, it can have, like, universal hatred for it, and that won't stop me from watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like, and, like, even, like, when I get, like, to the slog of a director, like, I watched, like, all these Ridley Scott movies recently, and I'm like, oh, God, these, like, early 2000 ones are so long and boring. Like, they're all 2.5 hours, and I'm an idiot, and I watched the director's cut of all of them, so they're even longer. But, like, I still watched all of them. Mm-hmm. Like, it didn't... Even though, like, I think I enjoyed, like, 1 out of 10, I was like, I gotta do it. Like, it's just... I can't stop.
Gotta get through them all.
And
I admire that about you, though. That is, that, you know, you make the commitment and you just go for it.
And I do that, like, with franchises, too. Like, I'll watch every Friday the 13th movie. Mm-hmm. You know, even though, like, one of them's good. So, franchises that I have not been able to make it through because they are so bad. Hellraiser. Gave up after the 4th one, which is both Hellraiser in space and Hellraiser in your favorite period in literature.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so it, like, starts in, like, 17th century France.
Man, that's rough.
And I could not make it through the Leprechaun franchise.
Oh, yeah, those get real bad.
Although I have heard that Back to the Hood, the second one in the Hood, is the best of those.
Now, it's always that guy from Willow, right? He's the guy who is the Leprechaun.
I'm really embarrassed. I can't remember his name.
I can't think of it right now. Oh, we should have, like, a computer out with that shit.
Yeah. So anyway, but I guess I should have tied that into the bitter enders thing. Like, how we, like, once that movie starts, like, we might pause it, but like, we don't stop it prematurely.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing for both of us, because then it makes it possible to, even if I recommend something that you really hate and make you watch it for this podcast, you're gonna watch it.
Yeah,
I know that, and you can rest assured that I will too.
Yeah,
because, and it actually, this will come back later. This will be on the test later when we talk about our movie that we're going to talk about, listeners. Sometimes a movie doesn't really pay off until that very, very last moment. And sometimes you just have to sit through it, and you know, you'll get there, and then it all makes sense, and it's just, I don't know.
We should probably also explain a bitter ender. Is like, there are people who, when they're not feeling a movie, will turn it off, and Ryan and I are not those individuals. Mm-hmm. Like, it takes a lot before we decide that, like, a movie's not for us, or we're not gonna, like, give it, like, it's, you know, due viewing time.
I think in general, if I do not see the end of a movie, it's because I fell asleep. And normally, when I wake up, I'll just rewind to the part that I fell asleep to and watch it. But there have been times when it's like, you know, I wasn't feeling it enough.
I was trying to think of movies that I hadn't finished, and it was hard until I realized that most of the movies that I hadn't finished were Criterion films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's, like, when I, like, actually started thinking about it hard, I was like, oh, man, this is a Criterion film, and so is this. I'm like, oh, man, they got to rethink their catalog.
The only one I could think of, because you brought this up, was...
And his name, before I even Google it, it's Warwick Davis.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. Did he do all of them?
Who else would do it?
Yeah, I guess you're really committed at that point if you've done, like, the first 3. Bitter enders, yeah.
It's also a good safeguard, because then I can't recommend you watch something that's, like, so horrible that, like, I wouldn't watch it again myself. Mm-hmm. So, like, I can't punish you in some way.
Yeah, because you'll have to sit through it again, too.
Yeah, like, if you make me watch something and I hated it, I can't just, like, strike revenge on you.
Right, there you go. The only movie that I could think of that I didn't make it through in recent memory was Dune.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah. David, what are you doing? What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
It just is.
That is...
not a great movie.
That is not a great movie.
in?
I think we should. Do you want to do a little... Because you're the one who can actually pronounce the name of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who brought it to the table. So
we got our little notebooks here.
I'm happy to get it started. So the movie we've chosen to start with is Beau Travail. It is directed by Claire Denis, is how I'm going to say her name. I believe that is correct pronunciation. I don't know. It could very well be wrong. It is it's a 90-minute movie, which I think is a great, 90 minutes. That's about 3 acts. Boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. It is French. The dialogue in it is French, although there is a couple moments where they speak Russian and I think Italian. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, okay.
And the cinematography, I want to just mention, was by Agnes Godard. And apparently she works with Claire Denis all the time. They have a good working relationship. And I just wanted to throw her name out there, too, because this movie is gorgeous.
Sure.
Gorgeously shot, I think. And, yeah, I guess I should also mention why I wanted to start with this one.
Yes.
Well, so I, a couple weeks ago, got really stoned. This is Washington State, so... It is okay.
This is not illicit here, people.
And was like, I want to watch a movie. I want to watch an arty movie. And so I was looking around. Nothing was jumping at me. And then I realized, oh, yeah, I've always wanted to see this movie. Now's the time. Looked around to find it on streaming services. Could not find it anywhere. And so eventually I just found it on YouTube. But it was no subtitles. So it was all in all these different languages. And at first I was going to turn it off because I was like, oh, I want to know what's going on. But I said, no, I'm going to pretend that I'm a student studying abroad and I'm just walking around in France and decide to just pop into a movie theater and see a movie and see like if it still affected me, which it was great. It was a great experience to just like watch this movie. And I guess I haven't thought about this until today when I revisited the movie to talk about it with you. But a lot of times you miss cinematography in foreign films because you're reading a lot, you know? And so you're always focused on that bottom, I don't know, quarter of the screen,
Sure.
you know? So it was nice. It was just nice to be able to just sort of experience it and let it wash over me. And I think this was a good film to try that with. Because there's not a lot of dialogue, and, it's really about like expression and a lot of just like gorgeous cuts and like choreography.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like I watched it with the dialogue, but the dialogue didn't reveal terribly much about the characters.
Yeah,
like you got the idea that Denis Lavant, his character like admired his commanding officer,
right? And
like I don't know if that would have come across in just the pictures alone.
That's true.
But like, his sort of like love for like the order and like the regiment of his life. I don't know if that would have come across just watching it. I mean, there's a lot of shots of him ironing, and I guess him sort of taking pleasure in his work. But
you get the impression at the end of the film. Maybe we should do a summary too. But at the end of the film, that like this was all that mattered to him was being a French legionnaire.
So, like, the dialogue was definitely helpful for some things, but I would say the vast majority of it wasn't totally necessary.
Right.
And this, so to go back to the bitter ending, like, this is sort of a good one to, like, be a bitter ender for. Because, like, I don't want to say that, like, I checked out of the movie, but it was hard to always stay checked in. Mm-hmm. Just because it felt like, even though it looked good, there was still long stretches where it felt like nothing was really happening.
Right.
Like there was that scene where they're just stretching.
Right. But it was gorgeous.
It was good looking. It was good looking. But yeah, there's just like a lot of stuff like that where it was like it kind of felt like nothing was really happening.
Right. And I actually wrote that down as through the second time through was that like the actual plot of this film doesn't like. The small, thin plot that is doesn't kick in until the last 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah. There's a moment when he says, abandoned post, like when he finds out that the one guy abandoned his post.
Yeah.
Like, that's when there's actual plot happening. Everything else is just, like, mood and, like, character.
Yeah. You could probably sum up, like, the first hour of the movie in, like, a sentence or two.
Yeah.
Like, maybe 3, like, one for each of, like, the main characters that you see.
Right.
But then it's like all the actual stuff that happens that like needs description happens in like that last 30 minutes.
Which is a funny way to build a movie.
Yeah. But so it doesn't really start getting cooking until the end, and then like the very very end, and I don't know how we're gonna deal with spoilers on this.
Yeah.
So the dance sequence at the end.
Right. Well, so yeah, we should just do a quick summary real fast. So it's these French legionnaires in Djibouti. That was something I learned, by the way, from watching it. I assumed they were in Algeria, but no, they were in Djibouti. There's a sergeant. He's a sergeant, I think.
Yeah.
And he's in charge of this group of young men. And you just see them like training and going through their legionnaire duties, and then a new guy comes into the fold and sort of like threatens. The sergeant suddenly becomes threatened and envious of this guy. It's roughly based on Herman Melville's story Billy Budd. So yes. I don't know if that helps you at all.
And there's clips from Benjamin Britten's opera Billy Budd in the movie.
Right, the music in it. Yeah, and it works really well.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's good. And so then eventually the sergeant kind of like sets up this thing that makes it so that the boy, what's his name? I wrote seitan. It's not seitan. That's a vegan food item. It's like Stanton, whatever. He sets up a thing where he gets punished and he gets banished, basically.
He's forced to like walk back to like the regiment through the salt flats.
Right, but he does something to his compass and makes it so that it doesn't work, so he gets lost. And then they find out about it, and he gets court-martialed.
Yes,
basically, and the whole story is basically being told as him on the framework that he's writing his memoirs.
Yes. He gets like sort of dishonorably discharged from like the French military, and like the premise is like he's writing it, and his memoirs sort of retelling like what happened, and at the end of the movie it's like him making his bed nice and neat and tidy, like you would in the military, and then it shows him like laying down in bed with like a loaded gun like in his hands, sort of like resting on his stomach, and it goes into this ending where he's like in a club dancing,
right, which
I believe you see at the beginning for like a little bit.
It starts at the beginning. I wrote that down this time too. Is like it's the first shots are in a club.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm trying to make a pun with Sheikh Djibouti.
That was the name of the club. Sheikh Djibouti.
But the end of it is just like it goes like from him holding the gun in his bed like to this like club sequence where he busts a move.
Yeah, it's like
now this guy is Dennis Levant, who you might recognize from Holy Motors. He was like the little weird guy in Holy Motors. Or you might recognize him from the Uncle featuring Tom York song "Rabbit in Your Headlights."
Really, that's him?
Yeah, he's the guy with like
just gets beat up by the cars over and over again.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I want to go back and watch that now.
He's just dancing at the end, and it wasn't, and like I'm watching it, and it was sort of like the movie's okay, like whatever, but like it didn't really start like clicking in until like it got to that scene. I was like, why did she choose this scene as like the end? Mm-hmm. And then I just started thinking, I was like, well, it's kind of gay, like it's to the DeBarge song, Rhythm of the Night. And I was like, suddenly it kind of dawned on me, and then like I was like, oh, was there like repressed homosexuality in here? And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, that would be like why he was like threatened by that like hot young thing. It's
funny that we as viewers it's like obvious to us, what's going on, but like for him, he's just like no idea. He just has these feelings well up, and he doesn't know where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, because it's like he has like a girlfriend, like he's got that like
right.
I don't know. Was it North African, East African? I don't know.
East Africa. Oh yeah, I found it. I had to look that up. It's right on the Dead Sea, Eastern Africa. It borders Ethiopia and I think Somalia.
Okay, because he's got like good-looking girlfriend. Like it didn't even like really dawn on me that like it might be sort of like repressed sexuality that's like causing this like sort of turmoil inside of him until like we get to this like dance sequence. It was like. It felt really out of place at first, but like it went on so long, and it kind of forced me to think about it. Mm-hmm. I was like, "This isn't like accidental. Like this isn't a whim. Like this is definitely by design."
Right.
And so then I started like thinking back, like, how does this connect to like the rest of the movie? And I think it was also just like, you know, sort of an ambiguous ending that like he's just in a different place now. Like whether or not like he you know went through with the suicide or anything like that. Like, you know, that's almost not important.
Right.
It's like wherever he is, it's just a different place than where he was before. And so yeah, like I'm glad that I was a bitter ender for that one, because if I'd given up at like 45 minutes or an hour, like I would not have gotten the whole film experience of it. And in this specific film, I think that's really important.
Yeah. I watched something about this movie a long time ago, and they talk about that scene. And originally, apparently, she had it with that dance sequence coming before him making the bed, lying down. The last shot was just going to be him and his, like, beating. You could see, like, his pulse moving through his arm. Blah, blah, blah. And, like, the last, I can't remember what the last line is. It's something like, do the work and then die or something. I can't remember. Do good work and die or something like that. But she's just like, every time she'd watch it that way, she's like, this is too depressing.
Sure.
He needs a break. You know? It's like, so she switched him, she flipped him. And it's nice because I feel like it leaves it ambiguous, like you're saying. Like, does he put the gun down and go out dancing? Are we to believe that this is like a linear telling time-wise? Or is he just off in his brain, remembering, because she's been kind of playing with time the whole movie, like jumping back and forth between present day or whatever. And so like, and then also, since he's telling the story from his memory, how much of what we're actually watching when we're watching it is accurate, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, did some of this happen, some of it not? He's just like fuzzy memories, you know, of what it is. And so maybe this is just the end scene is just another depiction of where his brain went before he pulled the trigger. We don't know. It's ambiguous.
Yes. But I will say, once that like inclination, I was like, oh, maybe it was like repressed homosexuality. Now I don't think the movie was gay enough. Like, now I'm like, I wanted more homoerotic tension.
Are you kidding me? That's all the movie is.
I know, there's like the swimming and like, there's a lot of long, like the camera does like the male gaze over like all those people.
I wrote that was one of my notes. I wrote down, I was like, is she objectifying? And then later on when they're like digging on the side of the road in those tiny little shorts, and it's just like but, and then I was like, yes. And then I wrote a little arrow drawing like tastefully erotic. Because I'm turned on, but in a thoughtful way.
Yes. I'm turned on. Yes. And like, I think my first inclination that like it was a little gay was when that commanding officer, like the one that Dennis Levant like looked up to. When they're all ironing their clothes,
right? And
he's just kind of sitting back and watching them iron, and he says, "Elegance in and under our uniform."
Ooh.
And I was like,
I missed that.
I was like, that's a saucy little saying. So, yeah, that was like, I was like, maybe there is. But it really, I mean, other than, like, the director objectifying it, like, I didn't sense a lot of tension. Like, it wasn't like any of the characters had, like, close encounters or something like that.
Right, yeah, and it was definitely one-sided.
Yes.
Like, you could tell that Satan, I'm just going to call him Satan, I'm sorry, I don't remember what his name is, it was not being returned, you know? He's the, like, Billy Budd of the situation, and he's just, oblivious or, like...
Sentan.
Yeah.
Sentain. It's Satan.
That's Satan. We're just going to stick with that. Stick with the words I know. But
yeah, I do remember, like, at the very beginning, like, it just kind of shows, like, all the troops, like, shirtless, and, like, it kind of, like, pans over.
Right.
And I was like, who does she think she is? The director of Jeepers Creepers 2? Like...
Right, and they've all got their arms in the air. It's like an arm-holding thing, so it's just, like, pits. And you're like... And she gets... I noticed this time around is that there's a lot of times where she gets real close up. So you're like... You're in their faces, you know, on their bodies, basically. Like, that camera is really close to these guys.
Yeah.
And so you're, you know, in that way.
I can't even imagine watching on, like, the big screen.
No, jeez.
Like, just those nipples be the size of dinner plates.
Bullseye. But then she contrasts it with like pulling back, and then you see these gorgeous like landscapes. But I just noticed that this time, so just pointing it out.
Yeah, and I look back on it, like there was like the underwater sequences,
right?
That looked great. They were all like in like the skimpiest of shorts. But, I don't know. Underwater sequences I feel can be tough sometimes to like make interesting. Like if you watch any movie that like spends too much time underwater, like James Bond's Thunderball, like it like really quickly like just becomes like slow and interminable. And like I felt like this like did it really well. Like I felt the underwater sequences were actually like handled like very interesting, and like they felt fast paced.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like I watch like an underwater action movie and I'm like, this is so slow, and it felt like fast and sort of like
it was just a quick thing,
a little bit, yeah.
And that's something, because I went and read a bunch of reviews. That was something that a lot of people seemed to say about this film, was that it felt very much like watching a dance performance.
Yeah, I mean there was the one where they were like running through the obstacle course or something like that, and like just the way that it was like one and then here, it really felt choreographed, like in a good way. Like I don't want to say that it felt staged. It just felt like the whole cast was like in sync, like they were all on the same rhythm.
Or just that stretching scene that you talked about earlier. Yeah. It's like today when I was watching it, I thought the link was broken because she holds the first dude for a long time. He's just sitting there, and then slowly you see him move his leg, and then she pans out and you see them all doing it. And it's beautiful, really. It's like everybody's kind of moving in the same way. I guess this must be what I look like in yoga class. I'm assuming. Let's see. Is that all I wanted to say about this movie? Oh, there was a moment when I was trying to, like, shoehorn in her use of color. I don't know if it really has any bearing, but, like, there were moments... Mostly blood. Like, anytime there was red... Oh, yeah. It was really, like, shocking.
It was a very stark contrast.
Yeah.
Because we had blues, and we had, like, whites and tans.
Right. Desert, basically.
Yeah. And then, like, greens because of their uniform and their little berets. But, yeah, the red, like, it always, like... I guess because everything else seemed so, like, sunburnt or natural. Or, like... kind of sun washed a little bit, and the red was just like a vibrant exotic color.
Yeah,
we saw it in there.
And it was, I noticed it the first because there's that like helicopter crash.
Yeah,
and then it's like the whole screen gets filled with red. And then right after that, when they're having that slow funeral procession for the guy, they're all wearing those like tan uniforms, but then like they have red.
Oh yeah,
epaulettes, and those just like stood out. Yeah, and it's like. Is she saying something about, oh man, in nature it doesn't work? I don't know, something like that. But I think I was really just trying to make something out of nothing.
Sure.
It was beautiful and it was there. I should just like accept that.
Yeah. Should we do any recommendations for like similar movies or other movies from the same director that are good?
You know what? I haven't seen anything else by her, and I really want to see her first film, which everyone raves about too. It's called Chocolat, and it's
not the Johnny Depp one.
Not the Johnny, but they both came out within like a couple years of each other, which is funny. No, hers takes place in Africa. I want to say Cameroon.
Okay.
And I read like a synopsis of it, but I don't remember it. But it sounds good.
Well, I will recommend Trouble Every Day.
Okay.
Which is her vampire movie.
Ooh.
With Vincent Gallo.
Really?
Yeah. And those vampires get real rapey, while I was watching it, like this was a while ago now that I saw it, but it's the only other movie of hers that I've seen, and I really enjoyed it. And it was because like the way that like the vampires fed in that movie is probably closer to how it would be in real life. Like it wouldn't just be like one bite in the neck and then the damsel would like pass out. Like there would be some fighting back. It would get rough, and it was like. They wouldn't just bite in the neck, like they'd bite like really wherever they could find like a big vein. So it's like he's like trying to like forces himself on this like one girl, and he ends up just like going at her inner thigh.
Oh man.
And yeah, and like there's lots of blood, like it's everywhere.
Use of red again.
The movie's just red, like it's different shades of red.
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, so I would say that if you like Claire Denis,
yeah, let's go with that.
I would definitely check that one out.
Okay. You made me think of this one really shitty movie that came out. Are we going to curse on this podcast, by the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. I think it was called Innocent Blood, and it came out in the
That's
90s.
a John Landis film.
Maybe, but there's a girl...
I haven't seen it, but yeah.
I just remember seeing this movie, and I was maybe 11 or 12, something. I should not have been seeing it. I was at a friend's house staying the night, and I just remember she kind of, when she feeds, she was just like, and then you just have, this big neck wound that was like almost like a zombie kind of situation. And I remember thinking like, I don't think vampires eat that way. That doesn't seem right. It's more like a werewolf situation, whatever.
Yeah.
So next week we're watching Innocent Blood.
Yeah, that's John Landis, who directed American Werewolf in London.
Oh well, see, he still got werewolves on the brain.
Yes.
He couldn't figure out his vampire movie.
Yeah, he went into that one. He's like, hey, you know what movie rocked everyone's socks? Let's see how much we can cross over here.
Repeat. Yes, I want that check. I don't know. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about this.
I feel pretty good about it too. I was also wondering if there's like, because our bonding over movies kind of stemmed from a challenge that we gave each other. Do we ever want to challenge the audience to watch something? Because there's some movies, and there's some movies that like I feel that people should watch, but I don't necessarily want to watch them again.
Okay.
And so like today I was thinking like, we have this like voice, I want to use it to like spread the word about movies too, like not just do one specific movie per. Sure. But like I wanted to just like maybe challenge people to watch a movie called The Group.
Okay.
It's like a late 60s movie.
Okay.
Directed by Sidney Lumet, who you might know from 12 Angry Men, among many, many other great films.
Dog Day Afternoon?
Yes. It's a big ensemble cast.
Oh.
All women, primarily. They're all the stars. Candice Bergen's in it.
Wow.
And the big one, it has a very young Jessica Walter in it.
Ooh.
And she plays a lesbian.
Wow.
And the movie is basically like a rundown of like so it's got this big ensemble group of women, and each of them kind of deal with like their own taboos that like women had at that point in time. I mean, most of them are still taboos. Like one girl's like has to deal with like being slut shamed by like all her friends. Another one is like shame for like being too prudish, like being a virgin for too long. Jessica Walter's a lesbian.
Can't win.
Yeah,
women cannot win.
There's like birth control and abortion issues brought up in the movie, and it was just sort of like this strange, like interesting film. It's from 1963, and it's got all these people in it, and it just dealt with all these like taboo subjects like around women at that time. And it's just one of those movies that like, I'd never heard of it up until not, maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially because like people love Jessica Walter nowadays.
Well, yeah.
That you'd see, like people talk about Play Misty for Me. Like people seem to know that Jessica Walter's in that. Mm-hmm. But like I feel like The Group, where it's like 1963 and she's playing a lesbian, like would get more recognition than it does. So
let's get that out there.
Yeah, so I feel like while we have this voice, I want to like say like go watch The Group. It's got Jessica Walter in it.
Jessica, if you want to come on this podcast, feel free to contact us. We'll bring you on. We'll do an all Jessica Walter marathon.
Yeah. Now we'll pay you the same as any other guest,
which is water. You get a glass of water.
No ice cubes. It's not the budget.
But who knows? Maybe by then we'll have a budget for ice cubes.
We'll have ice money.
We're just keeping the bar real low at the moment.
This is a startup. We don't have money to burn or singe.
Just keeping, you just got to keep it low, and then that way, if we reach that bar,
yeah,
good job, go us.
Can you imagine Jessica Walter sitting in here in my dirty little apartment?
Why not? Yeah.
Just drinking lukewarm water.
How did you feel about doing the group, Jessica? What was it like working with Sydney Lumet?
Can I freshen your water for you?
Goals. Hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals.
I feel like that's a pretty good note to end this on. We have to mention what we're doing next week. Next week, we're planning on doing The Stranger of the Paradise. No, The Phantom of the Paradise. Fuck, I did that when I was looking for it earlier today. The Phantom of the Paradise. Brian De Palma.
Yes.
70-something?
1974.
Okay.
Which I believe was a year before Rocky Horror.
Ah, okay.
Now this is more... It's super campy, but it's sort of like before gays took over camp.
Ah.
Or maybe Brian De Palma was just, stealing from a bunch of gays. But yeah, I mean, look at that.
Cool, yeah. I mean, I'm already excited. I have not seen this one, so I'm real excited. Sometimes we're going to have films that we've both seen, and we're just like, oh, I want to talk about it.
Yes.
But I have not seen this one yet, so you're going to get a fresh take from Ryan Whedon on this movie.
And I just watched it about a week ago, so it is fresh in my mind. Cool. And I cannot wait to just talk all about it. Yeah.
Feel free to watch it yourself.
Yes.
And then have opinions of your own that you'll just be yelling at your phone about, or however you're listening to this. Oh, you guys are idiots. You can't.
That is how I envision. So you know that episode of The Simpsons where like it's Lisa's rival?
Yes.
And she's like suddenly has this like a complex that she's like always in second place.
Right.
And she has that fantasy where it's like her and
Oates,
Garfunkel.
Yeah.
There's someone else in there too.
I can't remember the other one.
But yeah, and they were all in a big concert, and they're going to do their number 2 single, "Born to Runner Up."
Right.
And everyone starts booing.
Boo!
And she like wakes up out of her fantasy, like, why did they come to our concert just to boo us? That's what I imagine our fan base is going to be.
All right, yeah.
Like, I'm going to set up a Twitter account for us, and it's just going to be 700,000. You guys are idiots.
Hey, maybe we'll get T-shirts that say that on it. X-rated. You guys are idiots.
Just 700,000 tags saying boo.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our response would be like, are you saying boo or boo earns?
Exactly. You're going to get some Simpsons references on this show.
Definitely. I feel like I should contribute more because I can just do this all day.
Well, next time we'll have another film to watch. Or maybe we could do one or two of these at a time.
Yeah, maybe. If we can really just pop them out and stay focused.
We'll see. Or maybe we could do 2 a week even. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. Stay tuned. You notice how I keep looking at the recorder every time I'm talking to the audience?
Well, they say when you're voice acting, you're supposed to emote and actually do everything. And the way that you looked at the microphone and said "stay tuned," it was like you were telling the microphone
we should put
tune in next week.
We need to put a bunch of little faces on here so I know I have an audience I'm working with. I can.
I was also thinking maybe we should do. Because there's some movies that I want to talk about, sort of like The Group, where I don't want to devote a whole podcast to it. Mm-hmm. But maybe do gay trash cinema. What was that movie? Socket or something?
Oh my god, yes.
Maybe
I would love to talk about Socket if I could find it again.
I was thinking maybe we could do a quick rundown, do rapid fire,
sure.
Is it art? Is it trash?
Sure.
Is it watchable? Is this trash something that I can sit down and enjoy, or is this just garbage?
Yeah. And then we get more into what is film? What is cinema? Discussion, which I'm happy to have.
So, today on What is Cinema, we'll be talking about Sockets.
Oh man, I'd forgotten about that movie. What a piece of work.
I don't remember if that was on the challenge, but I do remember that you recommended that movie.
Yeah, I feel like I did. I feel like once I saw that, I was telling everybody I knew, please just watch this and tell me I didn't have a fever dream or something. Any last thoughts?
I don't know.
I guess.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter.
I'll probably make an Instagram at some point.
Okay.
We'll probably have a presence. I assume an internet presence. I mean, not like...
We have a physical presence.
We aren't ghosts. If anyone was worried about that, let's just put that to rest. We're not spirits from another dimension. Okay? And...